I am staring at a map of the United States right now, and it's almost entirely red. Not red like Republican red like danger red like bleeding red. Negative approval ratings stretching from coast to coast, and I cannot stop thinking about what this means, because here's what terrifies me. We rewatching something unprecedented happen in real time, and I'm not sure enough people understand just how bad this is getting. Let me back up for a second. I just spent the last 3 days reading through over 1,200 comments on videos covering Trump's recent behavior, and what I found genuinely shocked me. Not because people are angry. I expected that. What shocked me is how many people who voted for Trump, who defended Trump, who believed in Trump are now saying they regret it, and they were not just quietly regretting it, they furious. One comment stuck with me. Someone wrote, "I know 5 people personally who voted for Trump loudly. Now only one is backing him. Everyone in my family, my friends, work associates, all hate everything about Trump and MAGA. 5 out of 5 down to 1 out of 5. That's an 80% collapse in support from people who were loud and proud about their vote just months ago. And here's what really gets me. This isn't about policy disagreements anymore. This isn't about whether you like his tax plan or his approach to immigration. This is about something much more fundamental. This is about people watching their government tell them they can feed their family on $15.64 per day, and realizing they've been lied to about everything. Let me explain what I mean, because this moment crystallizes everything that's broken about this administration. Brooke Rollins, the head of Trump's Domestic Policy Council, went on television and told the American people that you can eat 3 square meals a day, plus a snack, for $15.64. She said this with a straight face. She said they ran thousands of simulations. Thousands. And you know what those simulations found? That you could have 1 piece of chicken, 1 piece of broccoli, and 1 tortilla, plus 1 other item they didn't even specify. 1 piece of chicken, 1 piece of broccoli, 1 tortilla. Now, I want you to think about that for a second. Actually picture that meal. That is not dinner for a family. That is not even a full meal for one person. That is a prison ration. That is what you feed someone when you're trying to keep them barely alive. And they expect you to do that 3 times a day, plus have a snack for $15.64. I don't know about you, but the last time I went to a grocery store, a pound of chicken cost me about $8. 1 pound. And I don't live in an expensive city. I am not shopping at Whole Foods. I am at a regular grocery store in a regular town, and 1 pound of chicken is $8. But here's where it gets even more insulting. Brooke Rollins, the woman telling you that you can eat for $15 a day, that you should be grateful for your piece of broccoli and your tortilla, she is not eating $15 meals. None of them are. Scott Bessent, Trump's Treasury Secretary, owns somewhere between 10 and 12 homes. Let me say that again. 10 to 12 homes. And when he was asked about this, about how normal Americans are struggling to afford rent, let alone buy 1 home, you know what he said? He said, and I am not making this up, he said that when retired mom and pop investors have capital, they might buy 5 to 10 or 12 homes. Mom and pop investors buying 12 homes. I have never in my life met a mom and pop who own 12 homes. I don't know a single person who owns 12 homes. And I'm willing to bet you Dante either. Because normal people Dante own 12 homes. Billionaires own 12 homes. People so disconnected from reality that they think owning 12 homes is just what normal people do with their retirement savings. And this is the man in charge of our economy. This is the man making decisions about tariffs and trade and whether your retirement is going to be worth anything. A man who genuinely believes that regular Americans are out here casually buying a dozen houses. But it gets worse. Because while Scott Bessent is juggling his real estate empire, Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, is standing in front of cameras lying about tariffs. He keeps saying that Trump has brought in $10 trillion through tariffs. 10 trillion with a T. Now, I am not an economist, but I know how to use a calculator. And I also know that the entire United States gross domestic product, everything we produce as a country in a year, is about $27 trillion. Mike Johnson is claiming that in less than a year, tariffs alone brought in $10 trillion. That's not just wrong. That's mathematically impossible. That's a lie so big, so absurd, that it insults your intelligence just by being spoken out loud. And here's what he's not telling you. Here's what they all refuse to acknowledge. Tariffs aren't paid by other countries. They repaid by you, by American consumers. Every single dollar that Trump claims to be bringing in through tariffs is a dollar that came out of your pocket when you bought something at the store. So when Mike Johnson stands there with his face getting redder and redder, sweating through his lies about $10 trillion, what he's really telling you is that they've raised your taxes by trillions of dollars. They just want to call it a tax increase because that would be too honest. One commenter wrote something that really captures this moment. They said, "It absolutely burns me that Mike Johnson and Trump keep omitting that tariffs are paid for by Americans." So if tariffs are bringing in $1 trillion or however many dollars, they've illegally raised taxes on Americans by that much. Illegally. Because that's what this is. Congress has the power of the purse. Congress is supposed to approve taxes. But Trump and his cabinet are raising your taxes through tariffs without congressional approval and then lying to you about where the money is coming from. And I think this is why his approval rating is collapsing. Because you can eat, you can afford your groceries, you struggling to pay rent, and these people are telling you that everything is fine, that the economy is booming, that you should be grateful for your $15 daily food ration while they reflying between their 12 houses. The disconnect is so massive, so complete, that I am honestly not sure how they thought they could get away with it. Let me show you what I mean by looking at the approval numbers because they tell a story that I think a lot of people aren't fully grasping yet. In Massachusetts, Trump's approval rating is negative 59%. In Minnesota, it's in free fall. In state after state after state, more people disapprove of Trump than approve of him. And these aren't just blue states. Even in red states, the numbers are bad. Nebraska, a state Trump won easily, his approval is only negative 1.8% only. But think about what that means. In one of the most Republican states in the country, a state where farmers have been loyal to the GOP for generations, Trump is underwater. He has negative approval. And the Nebraska farmers, they are going bankrupt. The tariffs that Trump promised would help them are destroying them. They can sell their crops. They sitting on silos full of soybeans and corn and grain they can move because Trump started a trade war without thinking through the consequences. But here is what keeps me up at night. Here is what genuinely terrifies me about this moment. I don't think Trump cares. I know that sounds obvious. I know we've all been saying for years that Trump doesn't care about normal people, but I mean something specific here. I mean that I think Trump has moved beyond caring about approval ratings, beyond caring about elections, beyond caring about the normal constraints that keep presidents in check. Because what's his play here? What's the strategy? He's threatening to invade Greenland. He is talking about taking over the Panama Canal. He is suggesting Canada should become the 51st state. He has created something called a board of peace where billionaires and dictators can buy a permanent seat for $1 billion. $1 billion for a seat at the table. And you know who is on this board? Putin, Netanyahu, dictators from Belarus, from Thailand, from Azerbaijan. Murderers and authoritarians lining up to pay Trump $1 billion for access. This isn't governance. This is a protection racket. This is the mafia running a country. And I think the reason Trump doesn't care about his approval rating is because he's not planning to run for re-election. He is planning something else entirely. Now, I could be wrong about this. I am speculating here. But let me connect some dots, and you tell me if I am seeing patterns that aren't there. Trump keeps talking about declaring states of emergency. He is sending his forces into blue states without local permission. He is testing the limits of executive power in ways we've never seen before. And multiple people in the comments are saying the same thing I am thinking. One person wrote, "It is on purpose. They want to declare a state of emergency, so no midterms. The idiot is an idiot, but he's also evil. Get him out now before there's any more damage done. World peace is at risk and MAGA is to blame. No midterms. Think about that. What if the plan isn't to win the midterms? What if the plan is to make sure they don't happen at all?" I am not saying this is definitely what is happening. I am saying that the pattern of behavior suggests it is possible. And the fact that it is even possible should scare the hell out of all of us. Because here's what we know for certain. Trump has already shown he doesn't respect democratic norms. He tried to overturn the last election. He incited an insurrection. He is currently facing multiple criminal cases. And the only reason he is not in prison is because he managed to get back into the White House. So what happens if his approval keeps dropping? What happens when the midterms look like they were going to be a bloodbath for Republicans? What happens when he's facing investigations and impeachment and the very real possibility of prison time the moment he leaves office? Does he just accept defeat? Does he peacefully transfer power? Or does he find a reason, any reason, to declare an emergency and suspend elections? I know how that sounds. I know it sounds extreme. I know it sounds like conspiracy thinking. But I also know that everything Trump has done, every norm he's broken, every line he has crossed, people said it was impossible right up until the moment he did it. And the people around him aren't exactly instilling confidence. Mike Johnson want to commit to holding fair elections. Scott Bessent thinks normal people own 12 houses. Brooke Rollins thinks you can eat on $15 a day. These are not people who are connected to reality. These are not people who understand or care about the lives of normal Americans. Let me read you another comment that really captures what I am feeling. Someone wrote, he doesn't care about polls. He doesn't care about midterms. He doesn't use Congress anyway. He is a dictator. He does what he wants with Americans. I'm pretty scared that Americans are not taking this very seriously, and it's just going to get worse. That's it exactly. We are watching authoritarian behavior happen in real time, and too many people are treating it like normal political theater. Like this is just Trump being Trump. Like it's going to be fine because America has survived bad presidents before. But we've never had a president like this. We've never had a president who openly admires dictators, who calls them his friends, who creates a literal pay-to-play board where dictators can buy influence. We've never had a president who threatens to invade allied countries while his approval rating collapses and he just keeps pushing forward anyway. Now let me show you something else that I think is important because it's not just about Trump, it is about the entire ecosystem that enables him. Where is Fox News in all of this? Where are the Republicans in Congress? Where are the people who are supposed to provide checks and balances? They are silent, or worse, they are lying right alongside him. Mike Johnson stands there and lies about $10 trillion. Not a single Republican calls him out, not one. Scott Bessent goes on television and says mom and pop investors own 12 houses. Not a single Republican says, wait, that's insane. That's not reality. Brooke Rollins says you can feed your family on $15 a day. Not a single Republican stands up and says, have you been to a grocery store lately? That's not possible. They all just nod along. They all repeat the lies. They all pretend like everything is fine while the country burns. And you know why? Because they re-afraid. They re-afraid of Trump's base. They re-afraid of losing their primary. They re-afraid of being the one Republican who breaks ranks and gets destroyed for it. But here is what they don't understand. Here is what they missing. Trump's base is shrinking. Those approval numbers I showed you, those aren't coming from Democrats. Those are coming from Republicans. Those are coming from Trump voters who are waking up and realizing they've been conned. 5 out of 5 down to 1 out of 1. 80% collapse. And it's happening everywhere. I saw a comment from someone in Iowa. They wrote, I regret my vote. Nothing done to help Americans all year. Think about what it takes to write that. Think about the cognitive dissonance you have to overcome to publicly admit you were wrong about Trump. That you believed him and he betrayed you. That you defended him and he doesn't care about you. That's where we are now. We're at the stage where even the true believers are starting to crack. And the response from Trump and his cabinet isn't to course correct. It's not to actually help people. It's not to address the real problems Americans are facing. It's to tell you that you can eat for $15 a day and you should be grateful for it. Let me tell you something else that's been bothering me. The whole Greenland situation. Trump wants Greenland. He's been obsessing over it. And his people are going on television saying that Greenland isn't even a real country, that it's so close to the United States that we have a right to it. Howard Lutnick, Trump's commerce secretary, literally said, Greenland isn't even a country. Just dismiss the sovereignty of an entire people because it doesn't fit Trump's expansion fantasy. But here's the thing. Greenland is actually much closer to Canada than it is to the United States. By their own logic, if proximity equals ownership, then Canada has a better claim to Greenland than we do. But they don't care about logic. They don't care about international law. They don't care about the fact that Denmark is our ally, that Greenland is populated by real people who don't want to be part of the United States, that this entire thing is a violation of everything America is supposed to stand for. They just want it. So they were going to try to take it. And you know what the rest of the world is doing while this happens. They redumping American bonds. Sweden just announced they reselling off their U.S. Treasury holdings. Denmark's retirement fund sold all their American bonds. The rest of the world is looking at America right now and deciding we too unstable, too unreliable, too dangerous to invest in. And that should terrify you, because those bonds, that is how we pay our national debt. That is how we fund the government. When other countries stop buying our bonds, when they start selling the ones they have, that's when everything collapses. We're not just losing international respect. We're not just losing allies. We're losing the financial foundation that the entire American economy is built on. And Trump doesn't care, because Trump is thinking about his next grift, his next scam, his board of peace where dictators pay him $1 billion for access. I saw someone in the comments connect this to the Epstein files, and I think they might be onto something. They wrote, Trump is on every page of the Epstein files. That's why he's doing all this crazy stuff with Greenland and Canada. He is trying to distract from what's coming. Now, I don't know if that is true. I can prove there's a direct connection between Trump's erratic behavior and the Epstein files. But I do know that Trump's name appears in those documents. I do know that he was friends with Epstein. I do know that there are credible allegations about his behavior with young women. And I do know that when powerful people are desperate to avoid accountability, they create chaos. They create distraction. They give the media something else to focus on. Is that what is happening here? Is Trump threatening to invade Greenland because he knows something worse is about to come out? I don't know. But the pattern fits. Let me bring this back to something concrete, because I don't want to just leave you with speculation and fear. Governor Maura Healey of Massachusetts gave an interview recently that I think shows what real leadership looks like in contrast to what we are seeing from Trump. She talked about protecting her state, about funding research and science while Trump is cutting it, about standing up to federal overreach, about actually caring whether people in her state can afford to live. And she said something that really resonated with me. She said, we need to protect voting at all costs, because if we can still vote, if we can still have fair elections, then we can fix this. That is the hope I am holding on to. That is the light at the end of this very dark tunnel. The midterms are coming. And if these approval numbers hold, if this trend continues, we could see a massive wave election that puts Democrats back in control of Congress. And if that happens, if we get a Congress that's actually willing to provide oversight, that's willing to hold Trump accountable, that's willing to use their constitutional powers to check executive overreach, then maybe we can stop this before it goes too far. But that only works if we can actually vote. That only works if the elections actually happen. That only works if we treat this moment with the seriousness it deserves. Because I'm looking at these numbers, I am reading these comments, I am watching this administration implode, and I am seeing two possible futures. In one future, Americans wake up, they realize they've been lied to, they show up in November, and they vote in such overwhelming numbers that no amount of cheating or manipulation can overcome it. They send a message so clear, so unmistakable, that even Trump can ignore it. And then we begin the long process of rebuilding our democracy, of restoring our alliances, of remembering what America is supposed to be. In the other future, Trump finds a way to avoid accountability. He declares an emergency, he suspends elections, he consolidates power, and we wake up one day and realize we're not living in a democracy anymore. We're living in an authoritarian state run by billionaires who think you should be grateful for your $15 food ration while they fly between their 12 houses. I don't know which future we are heading toward. I genuinely don't to know. What I do know is that the approval numbers I showed you at the beginning, those red maps showing Trump underwater in state after state, those are real. Those represent real people who are done with the lies. Real people who are struggling to afford food and rent and basic necessities while being told the economy is great. Real people who voted for Trump thinking he would help them and are now realizing he never cared about them at all. Those people are our hope. Those people who are willing to admit they were wrong, who are willing to change their minds, who are willing to put country over party, those are the people who can save us. But they need to show up. They need to vote. They need to be organized and mobilized and ready to fight for democracy when the moment comes, and that moment is coming fast. So here's what I need you to do. Here is the concrete action I'm asking for. First, register to vote if you haven't already. Check your registration. Make sure you're re-ready. Second, talk to people. Talk to your friends and family and co-workers who voted for Trump and are having doubts. Don't attack them. Don T say I told you so. Just listen, validate their concerns, show them they are not alone in their regret. Third, get involved locally. Find your Democratic Party chapter. Find progressive organizations in your area. Volunteer, donate if you can. Show up to meetings. Be ready to knock on doors and make phone calls when the campaign season starts. Fourth, protect voting rights. Pay attention to what's happening in your state. If you see efforts to restrict voting, to purge voter rolls, to make it harder for people to cast ballots, fight back. Show up at county commission meetings. Call your state representatives. Make noise. And fifth, Don T, give in to despair. I know it is hard. I know it feels overwhelming. I know looking at these approval numbers and seeing Trump still in the White House, still causing chaos, still threatening our allies, still lying every single day. I know it is exhausting, but despair is what they want. Despair is how authoritarianism wins. When you give up, when you check out, when you decide it doesn't matter anymore, that's when they V1. So Don to give them that. Stay angry, stay engaged, stay hopeful that we can fix this if we work together. I am going to keep making these videos. I am going to keep tracking these numbers. I am going to keep calling out the lies and the corruption and the absolute insanity of telling Americans they can eat on $15 a day while owning 12 houses. And I need you to stay with me. I need you to share these videos. I need you to have these conversations. I need you to remember that we are not powerless. Those approval numbers dropping, that's not happening by accident. That is happening because people are paying attention. People are seeing through the lies. People are realizing that this isn't a normal and it is not okay. We are the majority. We always have been. Trump lost the popular vote twice. His policies are unpopular. His behavior is unpopular. The only way he stays in power is through manipulation and cheating and exploiting the weaknesses in our system. But if we show up, if we vote in overwhelming numbers, if we make it impossible for them to cheat their way to victory, then we win. It is that simple and that hard. So let's do this. Let us save our democracy. Let's see prove that America is still a country where the people have power, where elections matter, where you can just lie your way through everything and expect no consequences. Let's show them that we are not going to accept $15 food rations while they live in 12 houses. Let's show them that we remember what America is supposed to be. And let's make damn sure that the midterms happen, that they are fair, and that we send these people packing. Because I believe we can do this. I believe that the America I love, the America that stands for democracy and freedom and equality, I believe that America is still here. It is wounded, it is struggling, it is being tested in ways we've never seen before, but it is still here, and it is worth fighting for. So fight, vote, organize, resist, and Don, to ever let them tell you that your struggle to afford groceries is your fault, or that you should be grateful for scraps while they feast. You deserve better. We all deserve better, and we